What's up, fellas? New meta time is finally here. What is Dragon Ball Super card game looking post Gamma, Gogeta, and Shenron ban? Well, you're in the right place to find out exactly what happened over the weekend as we had two regionals take place. Now, there isn't too many numbers, or I haven't seen any breakdown of what the top 8 or top 16 was for the Latin regional, but we do have results in from what happened at the Brisbane regional from, I believe it was either Saturday or Friday night. I think it was Friday, but I suppose it depends on your time zone really. But it's a new meta, and let's just jump right on in to see what happened. And you can see right here, this is the top 8 breakdown. There's no top 16 breakdown, but already so much more diversity than we've seen in any of the previous metas, probably since Dawn of the Legend of Z. Maybe there was some outliers, but for the most part, all of the decks here in the top 8, there is 8 different decks in the top 8. Now, that's not the most abnormal thing in the world as a new meta tries to figure itself out. A lot of players will try and find something that they've been working on for a while, but it's been stopped by Shenron and Gogeta. So now that those decks like Gamma are gone, a lot of decks can come out of the woodwork, and a lot of people feel that, well, clearly there was 8 different people who had original ideas, except for the Majin Vegeta player. That was just always going to be a top 8 deck. But it's very interesting. This is complete night and day to what happened in Latin Regional, which I'll quickly go over later on in the video, because there isn't any results to show you, but I did watch the live stream that Dokkan presented on his channel. If you don't know, somehow, if you haven't heard of his channel, he does stream all of the events, or what events he can stream on his channel, and provides commentary, so that's always fun to watch. But looking at this, or going back to the top 8 breakdown, it is completely unrecognizable than what we're used to seeing. So, if you've been playing the game for a while, normally you'd see a top 8 breakdown, it'd be like 3 Shenron, 2 Gogeta players, and probably like a 21 since Power Absorbed. You know, and obviously 2 Gammas, and then when Majin Vegeta came out, that pretty much started winning all the events. This is very fresh. It feels like a completely new game. So 8th place was Fusion Warrior Super Saiyan Vegito. Maybe that's the best red leader. It's not really a red deck, it's a rainbow deck, but it might be the best red deck now. The jury's still out on it, whether it's Pan, whether it's Android 13. There's some choices there, but obviously none of them are as good as what just got banned. Then we're looking at another red leader, funny enough, but no one really thinks about mill decks as colored leaders. We just say, you know, Janemba mill, Cooler mill, whatever mill that you can think of, Shenron mill. We just call them all, as mill is essentially its own color in some ways, because we just don't ever talk about them as the best. But Cooler mill gets in there. Mill always kind of finds a way back into the meta when we go into a new format. It kind of tries when people are trying to figure out their deck and trying to learn their matchups. So it's always smart if you're just looking to get a top 8 place. It's always worth trying Nemba Mill or Cooler Mill. If that's your ambition, you're never going to win an event with Mill because the seasoned players are going to know how to beat you. But for Grayson Webster, Cooler Revenge Transformed was good enough to get him 7th place. Fantastic. And it's not easy. I mean, Mill, as much as, you know, it can be kind of thing to play, you still have to know it to respond to. You still have to know your opponent's decks and not get yourself killed or tapped out. So Cooler, you know, well done, 7th place to Grayson Webster. Then SSB Vegeta and SS Trunks, Father Son Onslaught. I don't know why this deck is still in the meta. I don't know why if you're a yellow player you still opt to play this. I don't think it's great, but like obviously you can still get top 8 with it, but I just don't see the point in taking it because I just don't feel like that deck can win you events anymore. It got pretty close, but I think 6th place is the highest, or outside the top 4 is really where you're going to finish with this. It can beat a lot of decks, but not every deck, and it can't beat the best decks. I think that Majin Vegeta is just a better option, but Majin Vegeta will be the most targeted deck. So, and if you're used to playing this deck, and you know SSB Vegeta and Trunks, I think by now you've been playing it for a year probably, so you're probably not going to want to drop it until it's banned. which it probably never will be, but we'll see how the meta goes on from there. Hatchiak, Malice Assimilated got in 5th place, and this is the worst deck. Not in terms of power, it's just the most boring Floodgate deck to play against. It makes Gamma seem like the most fun you can possibly have. It makes Gamma seem like a day out at the beach. Hatchiak, because if you don't know what Hatchiak does, if you have level 7 or lower battle cards on field, you can only tag once with them. The reason this deck didn't exist last format is because Shenron just, 8-drop, 8-drop, 8-drop. It didn't affect Shenron at all. And it didn't really affect Gogeta either. But now, going into this new meta, Hatchiak doesn't have that issue anymore. It still floodgates your opponents out, it still stalls you out and slowly beats you down. Especially with the SS4 Gogeta black card that has, I think it has quadruple strike. It gets you up to like turn 8, brings that boy out, or turn 5, or whenever you can play that dude out, and hits you with a quad strike. He is very hard to play against. You end up falling asleep, you end up making mistakes just because out of boredom. It's disappointing that this deck is back, but he's not. The problem with this deck is it's not good enough to ever get banned, but or to ever win events, so it's not going to get banned, but it's never bad enough that there's never going to be a place in the format for him. So Hatchiak will always be a thing. He's eternal. He's a bit like Cooler Mill. There will always be a format for him. Then we're moving up to SS4 Vegeta Ultimate Evolution. I really like this deck. It's a very powerful ramp deck, but it's horrible to play against because once SS4 Vegeta takes the lead, it can be very hard to actually pull it back in, because once it gets up to 7 energy, you've still got Turning the Tide, you've still got Kale, you've got some really good blue cards that have come out since Ram the Gods, or since this deck kind of fell off. So it's interesting, and we'll look at the builds there in a minute for some of the decks. Obviously there's not much point talking about looking at the Hatchiak or SSB Vegeta build because they're largely the same, there's not much to talk about, but we will look at the interesting stuff here. So SS4 Vegeta, I'm interested in seeing that build. I haven't looked at the builds really, and I do think SSB Vegeta or SS4 Vegeta is going to be tough to play against because it's a ramp deck, and ramp decks are quite strong. But then we go up to Soul Strike Reborn, which is the deck I thought would just go away because I just don't think it's like if you know the deck in and out and you know your matchups, you can get your top 8. But it's strange that it's just so beloved by certain players. It always seems to find a way into the top 8. He just doesn't go away. He's probably never going to be out of the meta entirely because he is just a very generic blue leader. And if blue has good staples, he'll be a good deck, as you kind of know. And he managed to get 3rd with it, which is way better than I ever thought anyone could do with this deck. I thought it would be too limited, being honest, but well done, fair enough. He knew what he was doing and fought his way all the way up to 3rd place, and that's an impressive achievement with what I think is quite a limited deck. Then we've got SS Vegeta Fighting Instincts in 2nd place. This deck's been winning the majority of the events since its inception. It's a very strong deck. Yellow's the strongest colour, especially post ban list. It's even cemented itself probably as the best colour to play. But obviously I just think yellow is not really the most fun or popular deck to play with. But SS Vegeta Fighting Instincts remains in the top 8 as a top 8 deck, and is probably the best deck in the format. And then congratulations to John, I can't pronounce your surname, SS Sun Gohan. The results of fatherly training. This deck, some people said this deck was going to be the best deck, and other people said the deck is highly overrated. And after looking at what happened at Brisbane, it would say that the people who said this is the best deck look to have been validated. But then you look at what happened in LATAM regionals last night, and the deck didn't really perform. Now I haven't seen the top 8 breakdowns yet for it, but the one time we did see it stream, they lost Android 21, and the match didn't really go that well for the Gohan player. It's actually kind of a funny ending to it because anyone who did see it will have seen him lose literally because he passed turn as time went on and he had to hand the pans back to his opponent which the tiebreaker was whoever had more battle cards, because they were tied on live. Whoever had more battle cards won, and because he had to give the pants back to the Enter 21 player, by default he lost. Super disappointing, but that's what happened to the Gohan player. That's what ended his chances of winning at the Ladam event last night. Right, so this is the Gohan build that got first place. It's playing not a huge amount of the core engine, but it's playing enough. But it is kind of surprising in some ways. I was pretty much playing the entire core now that I see it. I was looking at the top part, but now that I see at the bottom here, he's pretty much got all of the cards. There was a lot of people saying you only use a handful of the cards. It's in the deck core, but it looks like it uses the majority of the cards revealed in the set. So that's good, I suppose, because you don't want to just see a deck that has a tiny engine and then just full of staples. Those decks get quite old pretty quick. But green has pretty poor staples in general, so I don't know how you'd make a good deck out of that. So now we're looking at this deck, and one of the notable things, as I've seen, is this kind of engine. I don't know if you've seen it a year ago or around Ultimate Squad. A lot of people were talking about Universe 7 Goku, because it started kind of disappearing from the meta around that period, and Gogeta obviously came in and down with the Legend Z. But a lot of people were starting to play this engine in U7 Goku, and it was really consistent. It's very strong because you've got a if your opponent KOs a battle card, you play this dude, which happens every turn. It's very consistent that you'll get a 15k crit on the field for free, but then you can remove it using this 1-star ball if you draw, and bring out this dude who's a double striker, and you can place this card in your drop area, choose one card in your opponent's hand and discard it. That's unbelievable. So just to put that in perspective, your opponent removes one of your cards, this dude immediately hits the field and he's a 15k crit. Free play 15k crit is super strong. Then you got this, that if you draw, you can play it on top of this Frieza and bring out this guy, and that's a double strike. So effectively you've hit them 15k crit, and then you've got them with a double striker, and then you can remove this guy once you've hit the double strike and discard a card from your opponent's hand. Like, it's just so nice. And worst case scenario, you can just discard this guy to give plus 5,000 power for the battle. Choose one of your cards, so you can choose your leader. It can just be effectively used to you can combo this off if you just aren't seeing this guy, or your opponent just isn't removing cards to play him. So I just don't know why more green decks haven't adopted this little engine, because it's very strong, very consistent. You never really play a game where your opponent doesn't at least remove one battle card, so it should be active in 90% of your games at the very least. So that's just something to bear in mind. Obviously there's certain green decks that can't play it, but I think this is something cooler you can take full advantage of, especially because he is Frieza Army, or I think it's Frieza Army, I think it's Frieza Clan, cooler needs. So the more of those that you get in, and this is also Frieza Clan. So if you're a cooler player, you should definitely consider this. But the deck is quite bulky with Unison, so it might be tough to get in. But other than that, you're kind of just playing the standard engine. You're playing this dude for more hand rip. So it's pretty much a strong hand rip Gohan deck. So that's probably what I'm mainly focused on doing. Right, and now we are looking at the SS4 Vegeta build that managed to get into the top. Now we're looking at the SS4 Vegeta Ultimate Evolution build that got 4th place in the Brisbane Regional. This deck is pretty much just good card deck. It's obviously a ramp deck, but going through it, there's obviously, it's mostly well, all of it is staples. It's just good blue cards deck. This is the only I think it's the only card there from the actual deck itself that plays, or that came out in Vermilion Bloodlines, but I don't think anything else here is a card that's belonged to the set. This obviously is part of the PyCon deck that came out on Dawn of Z Legends. It's all staples. This card is very strong if you actually manage to get the 10, or you manage to get this dude out. He's very good for ramping. But yeah, you can clearly see that this deck is just all. It's just a showcase of all the best blue deck cards that have come out in the last while. The Z deck is quite generic. There's nothing to talk about. This is just all the strongest blue Z battle card, generic battle cards, and obviously SSB Vegeta to allow you to self-awaken. And then the side deck is pretty much again just all good blue cards and just deal with hand rep. And I think we're going to finish off. I'm not going to go through, I'm just showing off the 3 most interesting decks. And this is 8th place Vegeta, which I'm pretty happy to see this in the meta. It's probably in the debate, as I said earlier, for best red deck, or best red leader, because it's not really a red deck. It's super awesome to see this deck still going strong, kind of returning to the meta. And we'll see how long it lasts in the meta. It's quite an interesting build, to say the least. It's got a lot of good things in the deck. So it's pretty much just a combination of all these very strong Vegeta and Goku cards. This deck is quite cheap if you're a budget player, except for the fact that the SCR might be kind of expensive. On TCG player is very expensive. I don't know how crucial this SCR is to the deck. I don't know if you can get away with playing a different unison or different SCR, but overall it's pretty budget except for this card and the SCR. This card will set you back. I'm not entirely sure how necessary this card is to the success of the deck. Like, I saw some people playing this along with the X-Evolve Vegeta from the Trunks Vegeta deck, so that made sense to me. I'm not sure how crucial it is to have him if he's just being played as a negate, and also he is a Vegeta, so you can use him as material for Union Pitora shenanigans. I don't know if it's just because of that, if you can just play different counter, or if you can just play different one-drop Vegeta. There might be a separate reason. I'm not the expert on this deck, because it's kind of come out of a bit out of nowhere. Like, there was a bit of talk about this deck, and I think it topped at the end of the Power Absorbed meta. I think it got a top there. But yeah, it's pretty cool build. I'd recommend anyone to try this deck out if you want to do something other than just the standard meta decks that we all know exist. Anyway, I hope you learned something from this deck. I think we'll just take a quick gander at the Z deck as well. It's playing this. I didn't think this would be included, but it's a strong card. And Oolong obviously very strong. That's the power of Rainbow decks, as if you know how to play them, you know how to sequence your turn. You've got pretty much unlimited potential to what you can play. The fact that it can utilize the likes of Oolong and Cell in the deck because it plays plenty of colors. Obviously, this pilot has made the deck very consistent to be able to get into top 8 with 54 players, but obviously you're always running the risk of bricking, so that's why it's probably not going to be the deck, but it might be the deck that wins you the events. I'll have to see this deck in action, but that's what I've got for you guys today. If you liked the video, hit the like button. If you dislike the video, hit the like button twice and then a third time just for good luck. Comment down below what you think of the meta. Before I forget, just a quick side note on the Latam Regionals. Android 21 BT20 won the event against Majin Vegeta. There was a lot of Majin Vegeta at the event. The only new deck we saw, or the new decks we saw, was the Ultimate deck Goku Black and SS2 Gohan. There's no breakdowns I've seen that are available for the event. Overall, it wasn't that from the stream. It really wasn't an interesting event. Just a lot of Android 21 expert deck and BT20 and Majin Vegeta, and then there was one Gohan and a Goku Black, and that was all that was shown on stream. Android 21 won the event. Wasn't particularly worth talking about too much anyway. I feel like this event was far more interesting. The fact that we had 8 different leaders in the top 8. So hopefully that spells that we're getting a very diverse and a very unexpected, surprise-filled meta, because I think I speak for everyone when I say, see, I bored of Gamma, bored of Gojira, bored of Sin. Every breakdown was the same. There was no point talking about it. I didn't even talk about breakdowns because they were all just the same. If you called some regionals from last meta, or you wanted to talk about the North American ones breakdowns, there was very little to talk about, very little outside decks taking chances, and most people just kind of got into the routine of just playing those two decks, and it was dull. Thankfully those decks are gone. We're into a much more, hopefully, exciting new horizon, and I hope we don't have some broken tier 0 deck that just shows up out of nowhere. But I've had a blast talking about this. If you've had a blast, as I was talking about earlier, hit the like button. Remember, if you dislike the video, you have to hit it 3 times for the dislike to actually properly work. And comment down below what deck you're going to be playing this meta, what deck you think I should play for the Raid and Shade region at July 2nd. I'll definitely take your suggestions into consideration. And have an awesome day, and goodbye.